I'm your host, Rob Carbone. This is BD4.
Barrett, some shake and bake, hits a three. Fans alive in the crowd. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye. Anthony for three. That one goes down. Got to put four fingers up when Torres comes to the plate. The ball.
All right, here we go. Episode 185 of BD4 of the podcast. I am your host, Rob Carbone. What is going on, guys? Hope everybody's doing well. It is I was going to say Friday night, but it's not. It's a Wednesday night, but it feels like a Friday night because, it's Thanksgiving break, I guess. And, so it's coming up tomorrow, and, I'm excited for it. Always excited, a fat ass like me, to eat and just pig out on Thanksgiving. So that's going to be good. Actually, tonight, though, Wednesday, the 25th, is the start of college hoops. I was watching some of the Butler game earlier, and I also tuned into the Western Michigan versus Michigan State game earlier. But I'm really excited for the Villanova game. Villanova is playing, I think, Boston College tonight at about 9:30 Eastern time. So as soon as I'm done recording, I'm going to tune into that. It starts in about a half hour as I'm speaking. That's going to be fun. But tomorrow's got a big game. We've got fucking, who is it? Big matchup tomorrow. Gonzaga and Kansas, the number 1 versus the number 2, I believe, from last year. So that's going to be fun. So a lot of fun stuff going on. So, but not with the fucking Knicks. It's pretty much the same old shit. But we are pretty much gonna kind of reiterate some things that we discussed in 184 last night, but also want to touch on a few different scenarios. One more trade solution that I have in mind, and then we're gonna get into a specific guard on the Knicks roster that we haven't really discussed yet. Who we're gonna dive into in a bit. So that's that. So, thank you for tuning in. Again, this is episode 185 of the podcast of BD4. And for those of you who do not know, I am your host, Rob Carbone. And this is BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. So if you want to follow the podcast and subscribe to it, listen to it, download it, like it, share it, and all that fun stuff, just go to my website for all that. Located on nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. That'll take you to a page that displays all my information, specifically social media, the blog, and the podcast, the many platforms. So that's that. So we'll get to our first break, and hopefully tonight's show doesn't go too long. Again, just a couple of things that we're going to touch on, and that'll be that. So we'll get to our first break, and when we get back, we're going to discuss a little bit Mike Conley. We'll talk about a Mike Conley trade idea, and then we're going to discuss Myles Powell, the undrafted guard who the Knicks went on and signed after the draft. So we'll be right back.
Hey guys, just a quick reminder that if you haven't followed me on social media yet, or subscribed to the blog or this podcast, just go to my website to do all that stuff at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
All right, so last night we kind of discussed a bit of New Orleans, how they are possibly going to be in trade talks. There's a chance, if they're trying to clear payroll and shed some salary and all that, then they have some contracts to unload, and if they're trying to save money for guys they want to extend down the line, then maybe they're looking to trade a couple of guys in. So we discussed a Bledsoe deal potentially happening. And then we touched on a more unrealistic but still worth talking about Lonzo Ball, dealing for someone like him. But tonight, we're going to move over from New Orleans and going all the way to Memphis, Tennessee. I'm sorry, no. Utah. Sorry. Conley is not with Memphis anymore. With the Utah Jazz. And this is, something that's kind of floated around, been in the rumored mill for a bit now. It was like 2016 the Knicks were originally going to get Conley before that contract. That never happened, and so we're hearing these, we're hearing a potential deal, maybe is happening again here, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind it. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Knicks are unfortunately set on who they have at point guard in Elfrid Payton, and then they have DSJ and Frank behind him, unfortunately. But if something happens where Leon Rose is looking for a point guard, and maybe Mike Conley is a name we think about. Maybe you try to ship off Julius Randle's contract and give the Jazz him, or DSJ, change in scenery, swap a guard for a guard, something like that. But I do know that Conley, signing a $35 million deal, or I don't know if it was 35, but he's earning 35 on the final year of the deal this season. But he had a disappointing season, very disappointing, going from a 21.6 assist line to a 14.4 assist line in 2020 from 2019. So, did have a down year. The efficiency wasn't as great too. He struggled mostly inside the arc. Still shot the ball decently from three, but overall was a down season and very disappointing, extremely disappointing for the Jazz. But he is a 33 years old veteran. 33-year-old vet with a couple of injuries over the last couple of years, and he's fucking got that risk. So that's always something to think about. But again, given those two factors, maybe the Jazz look to move on. Maybe they move on and try to dish him to a team who needs a point guard like the Knicks. And with 1 year left on that deal worth $35 million, the Knicks, it wouldn't destroy them financially, right? And they have the pieces, the prospects, the draft capital, and they have the finances. I think they have like $18 million left in cap at the moment. But again, they can move some players and make this work. But he would be a good player for this team, man. I'm telling you, he would be fucking good. I would not mind him on the squad. He's still a good, solid point guard, despite the decline. He could still shoot the three-point shot. He can get to the rim, finish, or get to the rim and drive and kick it. He's a vet with experience, and he's good with the young players, right? He's a very solid playmaker. Not a full court point guard, right? Doesn't have that youth to where he's able to run the floor consistently, but he is capable of running the half court extremely well. Unlike Elfrid Payton, who plays the half court all the time, but is not very good at it. Parts of it. Conley's very good all around in the half court game. Good pick and roll operator. He'll hit players on the wing. That'd be good for Barrett. Playing pick and roll with Mitch and Obi. So I think he'd make a really good lead guard for the Knicks to start him, and that'd be great. But and he's also a good defensive player too. So there's that. But so overall, it is another stopgap. It's not the answer long term, but where we are right now is not the answer long term either. Peyton's not going to be here long term. Obviously, he's not a long term player, but it's an upgrade nonetheless, right? It can get the Knicks more competitive than they were yesterday, and I think he has a chance. If Obi pans out, if RJ continues to improve, and Mitch as well, and we get someone like Conley on this roster, he can make the Knicks somewhat competitive in 2020. Again, do I think it's going to happen? No. I've said this time and time again. I think the Knicks are done making moves at point guard, but we're just going to discuss it for the hell of it. But that's the whole deal with Mike Conley. If it happens, it happens. Would not mind it. So we'll see. So we're going to head to break one last time, and when we get back, we're going to touch on Myles Powell. Be right back.
Hey guys, just a quick reminder that if you haven't followed me on social media yet or subscribed to the blog or this podcast, just go to my website to do all that stuff at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
All right, so so drafting Obi Toppin at number 8, the Knicks did not get their point guard of the future. Obviously, they chose talent over fit, right? Whatever. Again, in a situation like the Knicks, you need any kind of talent. You need offensive talent, right? And that was the guy they got. With the number 25, they took Emmanuel Quickly, a point guard, but likely, a reserve point guard who gives the Knicks some shooting off the bench, a little bit of a boost off the bench. Not going to be your engine of the future. So best case scenario, they trade for a point guard before mid-season rather, and go that way. But they do have a guard who they took after the draft and signed. Now, Myles Powell is probably not going to be your everyday starter at the point guard position. Okay, but I think if Myles Powell from Seton Hall, who played there for 4 years, if he can pan out to what people believe he really is, you have your replacement for Lonzo Trier. I really do think that. I think he could be a potential steal. Undrafted, the Knicks swapped him right up. Him and another big name out there who's undrafted, Marcus Howard. Dude dropped fucking 30 a night, and he was undrafted. But Myles Powell, really good. 20 points per game the last couple of seasons. Always been a big-time bucket getter. That's who he is. Again, guard from Seton Hall. Played there 4 years and won the Big East Player of the Year in 2020. Won the Big East Most Improved Player in 2018. He also is a 2-time All-Big East player. He's the 3rd leading scorer in Pirates history. A lot of accomplishments. And he's the first Seton Hall player since 1953 to be consensus first-team All-American. So a lot of stuff. And a little fun fact here I've got for you that I read up on. Before Powell joined the program, Seton Hall, the Pirates had just 2 20-win seasons the entire century. They were bad for a while. I remember growing up, they were just terrible. And I've been to a couple of games with my buddies, and they were always fucking bad. But since he joined, they went from 2 20-win seasons the entire century to 4 years in a row. All 4 years he played at that program, they had 20-plus wins. So, I love stats like that. Stats like that, to me, are meaningful. I feel like they show value. They show a player's value to winning, right? The fact that he went there and all of a sudden they start winning. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's him being a very talented player. So, he's a gamer, kind of got that fearlessness like Lonzo Trier did. So I think he could be that replacement. He's very fearless out there. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's got that dog mentality. He's loves playing, in the spotlight, and he's had some big moments playing on a big stage like MSG. He's played in MSG before in those tournaments, and he's beaten Big East competition, and that's not easy. Butler, he beat them twice as a senior this past year. He beat Villanova. He beat them on the road. Who was it? Marquette defeated them twice. So he's not afraid of the moment, and I think that's good. That's perfect, for a replacement. I really think he compares to Trier very well in terms of the mentality, having that hungry bucket getter mentality, right? Who can give you instant offense off the bench, kind of that microwave kind of guy, whatever you want to call him. But I think that's who he is. Could be your Lonzo Trier, since the Knicks unfortunately let him go. He can create off the bounce. Powell can, but he can also get open very well without the ball in his hands. So, a player who can shoot the ball, has a lot of range. He's got some pretty deep range. The 3-point percentages are up and down, but that's mostly due to shot selection. The good thing is that there are indicators where he shot well before, and the free throw numbers are always good. I think in all 4 years he hovers around 80%, give or take a percentage or two. So the indicators are there to where he can be an at least average 3-point shooter in the NBA, I think. And he's got decent athleticism, can get to the rim, got a very quick first step to get into open driving lanes, and finishes with a lot of craft. I think it was 58% in 2020. And a high basketball IQ player. That's the big thing right there. A lot of players come in with the glitz and the glamour. They've got the flash, they've got the talent, but they're not the smartest players. Look at Julius Randle, and they don't always translate to winning. But a high IQ player like Myles Powell, that could work. He's, again, spending 4 years at Seton Hall. He's got experience. He's learned a lot there, so he's polished at age 23. He's old for his class, so that could be a good thing as well as a bad thing, but that's never bad to be knowledgeable about the game. So I would love, for Myles Powell to get some time. I know the Knicks just signed Jared Harper to a 2-way deal, so he might be. It's gonna be hard. While the power forward position was kind of logjam for the Knicks last year, right now it's that guard position that we're kind of piling up on and stocking up on a bunch of guards. So we'll see if Powell gets a lot of minutes. I'm hoping he does. I think he's NBA ready. Again, at the age of 23, I think he should be getting regular minutes. But there are some downsides to him. Again, we mentioned the shot selection isn't great. It can be very poor at time. It'll hinder his efficiency. That's why if you look at the numbers year to year, the shooting percentages are not always great, and that may limit his starting potential, right? That's why he's not likely to be a starter. Probably going to come off the bench and be that scoring punch. He's also got a very small frame, right? 195 pounds at 6'2", so he's very slight there. That'll limit him defensively and, again, limit his starting potential with the size of a 1, but the style of a 2. And I think while his ball handling has shown potential, he does need to be a bit more efficient as a ball handler. That tunnel vision can get to him at times, and it'll get the best of him. And the fucking turnovers, they could start piling up. I think his turnover to assist rate in college was, you look at the turnover numbers and then the fucking assist averages, they're nearly identical year to year. So he's got to improve there. Try to keep the ball, on that side of the court. But that said, again, I think it's a good pickup for the Knicks. I think if nobody took him, why not take a guy who has all these accomplishments at Seton Hall, playing against some good competition in the Big East. So that is it for tonight, really. I mean, again, not much to talk about. There wasn't much, just Mike Conley and Myles Powell. So you tell me what you think about Powell. You tell me if you think a Conley deal would be realistic by the deadline. Let me know in the comments, and that's it, guys. So we're going to head to break one last time. I know I said that before, but we do have one more break, and then we'll get to the question of the day, and we'll wrap this thing up. Be right back.
Reminder that if you haven't followed me on social media yet or subscribed to the blog or this podcast, just go to my website to do all that stuff at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
All right, so last time out, in episode 184, I asked you guys which Knick leads the franchise with the most All-NBA honors. The answer to that question, Walt Frazier with 6 All-NBA honors. So that was the answer to 184. But our NYK question of the day for this episode for 185, how many playoff appearances did the Knicks have in the 1980s? All right, so one last time, tonight's NYK question of the day. How many playoff appearances did the Knicks have in the 1980s? So in other words, how many years did they make the playoffs that decade? All right, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. And hopefully this wasn't a, a poor episode. I know I kind of rushed through it, but I fucking always rush through my shit. I gotta work on slowing it down sometimes. It's really difficult for me to do this. I'm still getting the hang of it. Fucking 1 year later almost, since I started recording my podcast visually, and I still fucking rush through it. I don't know. I rush through it when I do the video, but when I used to just use audio, it was so much easier because you were off camera and you could pause it and take your time with it. Even though I never did. I always fucking rush regardless, but I don't know, man. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it's good enough content for you, and I hope you can get, some distraction with all that's going on right now. So that said, hope everybody has a blessed Thanksgiving. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. This is Rob Carbone, your host. I am your host, Rob Carbone of BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. BD4, we are sponsored by Anchor, so be sure to tune in to us next time in episode 186, whenever that is. But as for 185, Knicks point guard situation part 2, that's going to wrap this up. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast, you can subscribe to us on my website. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. That will take you to a page that displays all my information. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for tuning in. Ciao. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.